Hi, I'm Fiona from Frimley School and I teach a class of Year 5 and 6 students. They are in an MLE and have been for the last couple of terms.
Hi, my name's Luke. I teach at Frimley School. I'm the specialist in robotics and coding, so I work with all children throughout the school. At the beginning of 2016, our school implemented a new program for all children around coding and robotics. 6 months in, Fiona and I have reflected on this program and feel that we can both improve this innovation. We've discussed various aspects of our practice and identified the key competency of thinking as an area for improvement.
The issues that we've identified as a result of the new program are that the children will leave me and go and do coding robotics and it's standing alone. So when they come back to my class, they carry on with the work that they were doing with me and they don't bring back the skills that they've learnt with them as far as I know.
After discussions with Fiona, we've identified the thinking key competency as a key component. The program itself requires the children to do a lot of thinking during their sessions, but we also want them to be able to reflect on their work and then make sensible and deep choices about their next steps. While the Coding and Robotics program could have given us the option of working on any of the learning activity rubrics, we felt that the skilled communication rubric would be able to transfer over to other areas in the classroom. The use of the skilled communication rubric is also supported by the New Zealand curriculum, particularly as it states that students who are competent thinkers and problem solvers actively seek, use and create knowledge. They reflect on their own learning, draw on personal knowledge and intuitions, ask questions, and challenge the basis of assumptions and perceptions. The 21st Century Learning Design rubric for skilled communication gives us a clear framework for improving our practice around reflecting. These reflections will need to be multimodal and require extended communications. It will depend on students providing supporting evidence and be directed at a particular audience. At our school, the particular audience will include a number of stakeholders. Of course, the teacher and student are the main benefactors. However, the parents will also benefit from a greater insight into their children's learning. As our school is currently focused on self-directed learning in their strategic plan, the management team and ultimately the Ministry of Education could also be deemed stakeholders. Fiona and I feel that the skills developed now are definitely going to contribute to improved learning in the future and will not necessarily be dependent on any specific subject area. By focusing on skilled communication and metacognition in particular, that thinking about thinking, we want our students to make connections to all their learning so it sticks and is understood.
Our plan is to implement a program called FreshGrade. FreshGrade is a free site that holds individual student portfolios. It has its own apps that a student can easily use to record their reflective discussions and revisit at any time. FreshGrade can also be shared with whānau and commented on by them. This will allow for the children to share their learning with the evidence to support them as they begin to discuss their learning outside of the classroom. Alongside the technology, we are looking at ways to support the children's reflective discussion, which we will discuss later in the video based on evidence by Guy Claxton.
Recent discussions with parents have highlighted their opinions about prompted reflections. This was discussed as students showed their work during parent-teacher conferences this term. One parent recently told us she was sick of reading reflections on the student blogs because her child always said the same thing no matter what the topic was. There was no depth to their thinking or reflecting, and she challenged me on the point of them. The prompts had been used were, something I enjoyed was, or something I found interesting was, or the most exciting thing, or I would like to learn more about.
While reflecting on parents' comments, we realised we were missing an amazing opportunity. Student Voice tells us that they are getting very little out of filling out these sentence prompts, with the majority of them completing them as a class requirement, a task to be completed when an activity is finished.
Other alternatives we have looked at are blogs, YouTube, Adobe Spark Video and Google Docs. YouTube fits the collaboration requirements, but it becomes cumbersome for the children to use. It isn't as instant as FreshGrade and can't be stored by a group or individuals as easily. Students would need to have their own channel or use a Class 1, which would make their work accessible to others, really just too public. It also opens up a world of other possibilities for click-happy children, which is a distraction we want to avoid.
Blogs are a major favourite in our teaching, but again, the use of video on blogs becomes cumbersome and the reflection will get lost amongst other published work. The purpose for our student blogs is entirely different to the one we need to develop for reflective thinking. Google Docs is a platform that our children are also very familiar with, but does not provide the same opportunities. Adobe Spark Video is really easy to use and child-friendly, but it's used for a variety of different things and again allows for too many distractions with themes and music. FreshGrade will allow the children to film themselves and upload it to their individual portfolio instantly. They can send it to all the portfolios in the group at once and view it anytime, any place, with their whānau and friends or individually. They can also add their own ideas and thoughts later and do the same with ease without the teacher's heavy involvement.
We are focusing on the children securing their learning through reflection. Jack Mesereau said, "A defining condition of being human is that we have to understand the meaning of our experience." Too often in our busy days we plan very thorough, exciting experiences, yet miss the most valuable part, making meaning of our experiences through the act of reflecting on them. The pedagogical outcome we plan to achieve is that through the use of effective student reflection, making connections and thinking about thinking, the students will be able to build on their prior learning experiences to deepen their understanding of what they're learning. Sadly, often what we teach is viewed by the children as isolated and an unrelated experience. A major part of our teaching in the past has been in separate time blocks for a separate subject. Instead, we want the students to get into the habit of linking and constructing meaning from the experiences they are having. We want them to do this over a variety of topics and be able to apply their knowledge and learning into new areas. We as teachers call this process scaffolding. Fiona and I want to take it a step further than this. We want to support the students to make the connections themselves, with the outcome being them owning their learning, thus making it more effective and permanent for them. Costa talks about the value of reflecting and the teacher's role in this being the facilitator of making meaning. What we hope to do is change our role to being facilitators rather than scaffolders. Our classroom is noisy and active and the children are busy. We provide a lot of hands-on tasks and discovery type learning. What we hope to achieve from being the active facilitator of reflection is the children will need to look back rather than move forward. They will take a break from what they have been doing, step away from their work and ask themselves, what have I or we learned from doing this activity? In the past, we've often left this to the end of the lesson and completed reflective tasks using sentence prompts. As we reflected together on our own research, we see the lack of effectiveness of this type of reflecting. Costa's research tells us that reflection is more effective when done collaboratively. Our use of FreshGrade and the FreshGrade app are based on this premise. In the past, we've tried different types of recording apps, but they have proved to be heavy on the teacher involvement and light on the student involvement. This way, they can talk about their learning, put it directly into their portfolios, and revisit it anytime, anywhere, with anyone. Being able to attach different types of evidence makes this activity multimodal, and the expected ease of use will provide students with the ability to reflect over time and create an environment for that extended communication. Guy Claxton discusses student reflection when he talks about how we need to be thinking about the process rather than the activity. Guy draws heavily on the concept of the learning gymnasium. Just as our muscles need exercise, so do our minds. The four muscles he talks about are the four R's. Reflection, or managing the strategic aspects of learning, is what we really need our students doing on a deeper level. With their reflective muscle in use, we will make the shift from reflection in our classes being something of an add-on at the end of the lesson to a practice that is embedded in their learning. Edna Saxon talks about 10 ways to encourage student reflection. She said, optimal learning occurs when students are active participants in their own learning, rather than passive recipients of teacher-delivered content. For this to be effective, students really need to think about their learning. We feel number 6 on Edna's list, ask the right questions, is relevant to the building of our task and supporting the students as they become more confident using FreshGrade for reflection. How might you find this out? What skills did you use? How did your group function? What worked and what didn't? What connections did you make? How was your thinking pushed? Why did you choose the approach you did? What did you enjoy and why? How could you have done it differently? The final area of research we'd like to discuss is John Hattie's effect size. Hattie says effect sizes greater than 0.4 will affect student achievements. Metacognitive strategies are 0.69. They refer to those thinking about thinking strategies, planning the approach of a learning task, evaluating progress, and monitoring comprehension. Getting the children involved, planning for the reflection, thinking and discussing their thinking and vocalising this process will ensure greater success in this area. In conclusion, our main objective is to be the facilitators of reflection. Our digital and collaborative innovation for this area will be FreshGrade. Directing and supporting conversation in this area based on Saxon's question prompts will allow the children to be active participants in their own learning. As we've developed this plan, we've reflected on our own learning. The research we've investigated has confirmed our assumptions around reflection, particularly Hattie's effect size. Children learning from each other and discussing their experiences is far more effective than having those experiences pointed out to them by the teacher.